Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. Cowboys favored by 10.5 here in Carolina. It's another week where the Cowboys are favored by double digits. Last week, the 16.5 felt small against the Giants, and it looked small at the end of the day. Can they do the same in Carolina?
Yeah, nobody beats up on bad teams better than the Dallas Cowboys. So 10.5 points is like an insult to them at this point. Look, everything that's wrong with Carolina right now doesn't feel like it gets better when you match it up with the Dallas Cowboys defense. So that, I think, immediately starts you off at a bad spot. Frank Reich, resuming play calling duties, having only given them up like a month ago.
Yeah,
that feels like a pretty big. I mean, we reference this a little bit with what Buffalo is doing. You do see sometimes head coaches step in and say, "No, this is not good. I'm gonna take back control." They usually haven't given it up just a couple of weeks ago when they do that, though.
This was Matt Nagy was doing this, right? Wasn't he giving it up,
giving
it back?
So, I mean, that's a huge red flag in terms of what is happening with Carolina. Honestly, I don't think it matters the way their offense is playing at the moment. Like, it's struggling. Nobody's getting open outside of Adam Thielen. They're not scheming people open particularly well. They run the same personnel group all the time. It's like, remember when Zach Taylor's offense was doing the same thing every play? And you're like, this is just too predictable. And then Jamar Chase rocked up, and you're like, it doesn't even matter if you can predict it. You can't stop it, so who cares? Well, they don't have a Jamar Chase, or Joe Burrow for that matter. So the being predictable part is a problem. The fact that it's 11 personnel every time, and generally speaking, they're all lining up in the same place, and that they're not doing any pre-snap motion stuff. They're not confusing you. They're just lining up and executing, and they execute badly. I mean, that against Dallas, good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle against Dallas. On the other hand, here's my weird statement of the day. I think the Panthers are the worst team in the league in a long time. Like, they're the worst team in the league right now, record-wise.
Okay.
You could argue, I don't think they're, like, when you look at that roster, it's bad. I don't look at them and, like, see, hey, they're the worst team in the league. Like, the Giants feel worse than them right now, don't they? We thought the Cardinals coming into this year felt like the team. They look like they could be tanking. The roster doesn't look great. The Panthers roster is not that bad. At one of these points, if they can just get some confidence in Bryce Young, find a few plays where he can get the ball down the field, more than one. He had one good downfield throw the other day on Thursday Night Football against the Bears. They can get a couple more of those. Let him play freer. They're not that bad. The Panthers aren't as bad as they've showed. Do you disagree? When we've seen a lot of bad, like, worst teams in the league over the years, you're like, they're just the worst team in the league. The Jags multiple times, the Jets a few times, the Cardinals in 2018. Like, there's a few teams it's just, this is by far the worst team in the league. I don't look at the Panthers and say that. I don't think you're going to see it this week. They're going to lose. They're going to lose by a lot against the Cowboys. But in this second half of the season,
I'm glad we spent time on this.
At some point, the Panthers are going to be more competitive. But this won't be the week.
Yeah.
I'll take Dallas to cover this.
Yeah, I kind of agree that they are not by far and away the worst team in the league, but they do stink. And that's kind of that's the point. And they now stink going up against Dallas, who tends to destroy stinky teams.
Really quick, so Dak is on a tear.
Yeah.
Playing great these last few weeks. So he's starting to get MVP hype because he's playing great. It's the last thing we saw. And
he doesn't have many interceptions now.
And the interceptions are down, of course. And the stats are good, which is funny because the MVP is very much a narrative-driven deal, but it's also, like we talked about before, like people look at passer rating. Unless you're a running quarterback, they look at touchdowns. And so Dak's going to have this MVP case statistically, maybe in a season when he hasn't beaten any good teams, which is just interesting. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the same people who are going to call him out for not, beating the Eagles and beating the 49ers might also say, well, look at the stats. Dak's the MVP. I mean, he played great last week, beat up on a bad Giants team. At some point down the road here, I need to see the Cowboys against good teams. But Dak's playing great ball right now.
He now has the lowest turnover-worthy play rate of his career and one of the best in the NFL after having the season of leading the league in interceptions.
Yeah, after we told everybody, like, who cares?
Yeah, and it didn't
like
just
turnover-worthy play went up down the road, down the end of the season, but like the interceptions were always an overblown narrative for Dak Prescott. Yeah. Same quarterback.
I think they will cover 10.5.
Yeah, I do too. Take Dallas. By the way, Brandon Cooks watch. if they get Brandon Cooks playing like he did last week for Dallas, they're even more dangerous than we thought.